Hello, I'm Julie and welcome to Still Sassy, or welcome back if you've been here before. This is the amazing space where we talk about all things mindset, beauty and skincare for women over 50, so we can all feel fabulous as we get that little bit older. Today's video is about something really important, and that's confidence for women over 50, or lack of it, which is often the case. It's quite personal for me because I've lacked confidence on and off for a long time now, and I've had to work really hard at getting myself back on track. Confidence isn't something you can live without for very long because it really does affect your life in all sorts of ways, and not positively usually. And I really don't want you stuck in that no confidence camp for too long, because it's a hell of a place to be. So today I'm sharing some lessons that I learned when my confidence quietly slipped away, and what I needed to do, or some of the things I needed to do to get it back on track. I'm really hopeful what I have to say and share with you is going to help you too if you're lacking confidence or feel like it's leaving you. I feel so strongly about this subject because, particularly in women over 50, like I am and many of you watching will be, confidence is something that just starts to wane as we get closer to older age. And it doesn't need to, and it shouldn't. And I'm on a mission to make sure that everybody has got the confidence they need to live a full and lively life. Now, before I go on, if you're finding this video useful, helpful, funny, then please don't forget to nip down to below the video somewhere and hit that subscribe button, and also like the video if you wouldn't mind, because that helps us small creators out big time. And I'll thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing it. Now, I've changed careers literally overnight, interviewed a lot of famous people, including Tony Blair, Zara Phillips, Martin Clunes, Deborah Meaden, Katie Price, to name but a few. But even that, and everything that I've done around the work that I've done and things, didn't stop my confidence slipping away. It's crazy, isn't it, really? That you can be so strong and out there and confident 1 minute, and then the next, poof, it's just gone. I definitely know what lack of confidence can do to a woman, and if we don't get to grips with it, it can literally ruin your life. And as we pass 50, life is literally too short to be hiding in the shadows. We need to get that floodlight well and truly on you again. Now, lack of confidence is actually, or usually, a symptom of lack of self-worth. Lack of self-worth comes first, and then the confidence and what happens to you afterwards is the result of that. It doesn't always happen that way around, but it's very common for it to be about the self-worth that you feel about yourself. Now, your life might echo this too, but when I was younger, confidence, or lack of it, wasn't something I needed to think about. It was just there. And I did plenty of things that took guts, a lot of guts sometimes. I always think we need a female version of It Takes Balls, but you know what I mean. And I had plenty of balls back then. For me, it started around the age of 45, I think. Things just started to chip away at me. A comment here, a rejection there, starting all over again as we moved house many times to very different locations every time. Run-ins with a few alpha males, 2 in particular. And before I knew it, I just didn't feel like me anymore. Actually, when I think about it, it probably started before the age of 45. But you don't always notice what's happening until something happens to sort of jolt you into realisation. So it can be happening, this confidence drifting away, for quite some time before you suddenly think, what's gone wrong here? Things can just start to grate on you, and you can really feel a difference in your body and your mind. Things that you used to be able to do quite easily suddenly are not easy at all, and you just slowly realise what's happened. Now, if you want to hear about how I ruined my 40th birthday for me and everyone else, then there's a video about that which I think some people found quite funny. So I'm going to link it up here for you, and if you want to pop off and watch that, then please do so when you finish this. It makes me cringe every time I think about that birthday, so I try not to think about it too often. And bereavement was a big one for me. We lost 4 key people in our lives very quickly, and that just knocked me for 6. And I think, don't know why or how, that was something else that just eroded my confidence. And gosh, lack of confidence feels awful. For me, it showed up as me pushing harder to achieve more and more, even things I didn't really want to achieve. I just felt like I needed to prove myself. It came out in people pleasing. I said yes to lots of things that I didn't want to say yes to, didn't feel able to say no, and that had quite a big effect on my life. I hid away a little bit and started sinking into almost an introverted version of who I usually was, because I usually was quite outgoing and was always up for a good time out and things, but I just started withdrawing into myself and staying indoors quite a bit more than I normally would. I was literally chasing something, although I didn't know what it was, to prove to people that I was good enough. And all the experience I've had, all things I've done, all things I've achieved in my life, they just sort of disappeared, and all I could see was this person that wasn't really worth anything. So why would I go out there and put myself out and meet people and things, because, you know, what did they think of me? That's what used to worry me quite a bit. And the worst bit, when you lack confidence like that, you miss so many opportunities. You stop wanting to do things, stop applying for things. It's like you're just bringing your world down to a very narrow corridor that you live in, and it really isn't a great place to be. Now inside, it felt a bit different because I didn't want to stop doing things, and I would still organise things like maybe a workshop that I wanted to run. But then I'd spend all the time leading up to it wishing I'd never bothered. I used to really worry about it. It was mostly around how it might go. For instance, if I had organised a workshop, how is it going to go? You know, are people going to enjoy themselves or get something out of it? What if they don't? And it was crazy because I kept going. When I think about it, I used to put things on or organise to do things and then just really regret it. However, everything always turned out okay. Everybody had a good time. They did what they needed to do. They learnt what they needed to learn. But for me, seeing that happen wasn't enough. I really just couldn't acknowledge that I was actually quite good at some stuff. So every time I did something, a workshop or went to a do or whatever, the negative thoughts would come right back again. I couldn't anchor my thoughts on to the fact that everything has been fine so far, so it's going to be fine again. For me, every time I would just think this is not going to go well. And that's a little worry to carry around with you. So what helped me turn all this around? How did I get the courage to be here on YouTube, to go self-employed, train as a makeup artist and an accredited life coach in my 50s, to ride a motorbike around Silverstone racetrack, and lots of other things? How did I get back to that point? Well, I've got 3 things I want to talk you through here that you can easily do yourself that will make a difference. However, people will say to me, are you cured then? Is this it? You know, you've got your confidence back and everything's fine. And the answer to that is no. I'm not sure you can ever be cured of lack of confidence, because it can just creep up on you, and it could be something and nothing that makes that happen. Confidence is like a muscle. You have to train it to keep it strong. The minute you take your eyes off the ball and stop doing the press-ups, your muscles just wither away and back comes the negative thoughts. So it's I wouldn't say a battle to keep the confidence levels up, because you get to the point where you have trained that muscle and you can keep going, but every now and then expect a blip. That's just life, isn't it? But here are 3 things that I did that really helped. The first one is talk to someone who can hold up a mirror. Now for me, one of the biggest shifts came when I started talking to someone outside of my circle, my inner circle. Not my husband, not my family and friends, because they were all too close to it. And there were probably things that I wanted to share that I wouldn't have shared with those folk. So I needed someone else. What I did was found a life coach to help me through this. But it could be anybody. Anybody you could rely on to hold a mirror up and say, can't you see what's really going on here? Someone who isn't close enough to want to just do the whole everything's okay type of speech. You really want somebody who's going to uncover what's going on and make you see what's happening to you. I remember one session when I was ranting on about feeling exhausted because of all the things that I was doing. Basically saying yes to everything. My coach looked me in the eye and said, but did you actually want to do any of those things? And it was like a lightning bolt. My confidence hadn't disappeared. It was just buried deep down under the people-pleasing, chasing perfection, breaking boundaries, and listening to everybody else's voice other than mine. And really, you know, your voice is the most important in all of this. So I start at small, tiny acts of self-assertion. I don't really remember the first time I said no to something when normally I would have said yes, but I do remember how it made me feel. I assumed if I articulated my own needs, then people would hate me for it. I'd lose friends, family would turn their backs on me, I'd get into arguments or whatever. I just felt the worst would happen if I said no when they were expecting me to say yes. But of course people don't care. They have their own lives to lead. And unless it's something major that you should be involved with and you're saying no, when people might take a bit of umbrage, really people don't care. Why would someone care if I said no to going to a wedding that I really didn't want to go to or was inconvenient? Unless of course you're playing a part, like mother of the bride, and then maybe you do need to say yes. Why would I get sacked because I spoke up against something in a meeting? It's almost like your brain's wired to jump to the worst conclusion. The world doesn't collapse because you said no to something in a meeting. You're not going to get chucked out the door for that. People like the people they're surrounded with to have different opinions and different ideas, but somehow when we lose this self-worth, all that disappears and we just think we have to do the right thing all the time. But there is no right thing. It's what's right for you that matters. And guess what? The world does not collapse. But what does happen is you start to feel so much lighter. It's like with every time you assert your needs, someone takes a heavy brick off your back because you realise the world hasn't changed. Whatever you've done hasn't caused some massive earthquake. It's just you saying, I don't want to do that. I want to do this instead. And the world just keeps spinning and on we go. And then number 2 is to stop letting other people hold the measuring stick. For years I measured myself by other people's yardstick. What did they think of my clothes, my ambitions, my appearance? But the problem is with that, you can never win at that game. I remember, it's a long time ago now, where I stayed quiet about an idea I had in a meeting. I just thought, if I put this forward, how is it going to be received? Is it a daft idea? So I didn't bother. Lo and behold, about 10 minutes later, some bloke in the room who was probably the same level as me said exactly the same idea that I was going to say, and everybody loved it and thought it was a fantastic thing to do. They praised him like he'd just changed the universe, and I was so mad that I'd not done it myself. It's moments like that that make you realise you're shrinking yourself down rather than living this full, expressive life that is yours to live. I was so annoyed. I was really good at my job and high up in the organisation. What was I thinking by holding back? So I asked myself something, and if you're recognising yourself in any of this, then you could ask yourself it too. If no one else had an opinion on it, what would you want for you? It is such a freeing question. Just think about it. If all these people disappeared and had no opinion, what would you do? For me, it meant so many things when I finally asked myself that question. And it wasn't anything major, it was more to do with things like starting to wear my vintage clothes again. Clothes that were perhaps a little way out there for some people, but, I was wearing them again, regardless. It meant yes to opportunities that really excited me, but no to other things that I really didn't want to do, or wouldn't give me anything or offer anything. And it meant being able to do my job in every sense of the word, arguments and everything. If I had an opinion, I needed to say it. It meant being able to go out again and meet new people without worrying about what they might think, about what I said, how I looked, what I did as a job. It's just really freeing to think to yourself, it really doesn't matter. So what I want for you is to take back that measuring stick. Grasp your standards back. Embrace your choices, your life, because it is your life, not anybody else's. It really isn't the best plan to get through life living it for someone else. And then number 3 is something very close to my heart, and that is that self-care is not vain or selfish or any other word that you can think of to put in that sentence. There is this myth that looking after yourself, inside, outside, whatever that means to you, is vain. And that annoys me so much. Looking after yourself is one of the most important things you can do, whether that's dieting, eating well, sleeping well, starting to exercise more, wearing makeup again. All that self-care is armour. It's like putting your knight's armour on. And when you do this, when you look after yourself, you walk into a room differently. You feel differently when you look in the mirror. And it's nothing to do with trying to impress other people. It's about giving yourself the worth that you deserve. Again, talking about the vintage clothes, because I love vintage clothes. I went through quite a long stage of not wearing any of my vintage clothes. And I remember when I was doing all this work, pulling a jacket out of the wardrobe and sticking it on. And I instantly felt like my old self. It was a jacket I hadn't worn for about 10 years and it probably needed replacing. It was vintage when I got it, so it was even more vintage by this point. But it just felt like putting an extra layer of skin on. It just felt so me. And of course the jacket wasn't magic, it had no magic powers. The confidence comes from choosing to do things unapologetically. So I chose to put that jacket on and I wasn't apologising to anybody. I was wearing it and that was it. And that's the strong thing. That's where the confidence starts to increase again. When you take choices and make decisions because you want to. So this is how life should be. You're living it for you, not for anyone else. Although I do have to say that obviously there are times you have to rein it in and perhaps behave differently to what you might really want to because you're in a particular situation. But make those the exception and not the norm. So if you think self-care is frivolous, then I want you to flip that script. Pick one thing, skincare, bold lip, walk in the park, listen to music, whatever it is that you would like to do for yourself, and do it. When you start doing that, you'll be amazed how differently you show up in life. Because if you're feeling good, physically, mentally, then it's a whole different level of radiance that comes out of you when you walk into a room or when you go out and about or whatever. So all that's left is to say, if you're feeling really unconfident at the moment and that's turning into actions that you don't want to take, then remind yourself that you still are confident. It's just buried somewhere and you need to do a bit of work to dig it back out. Start with small changes. You don't need to jump in the deep end. Hold your own measuring tape. Don't let anybody else hold it for you and take care of yourself. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that video and found it really useful. I'd love to know in the comments below what you feel about your confidence. And if you have lost it or it's waned at any point, what did you do to help yourself back into full force? Because sharing the love and ideas is what us women are all about. So let's help each other out. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.